Okay, let me try to do this again and lay some concerns. When I offered the apology to atheists, I really meant it. I wasn't trying to be facetious. I wasn't trying to be, I didn't want to, what do they call that? Condescending. I'm not even sure I ever spelled it right in the comments. I meant what I said. It was an epiphany for me. You'll have to excuse the expression. I'm going to explain the whole story now so that you know where I'm coming from. I went to Bible class, and the topic was the conscience. And the pastor was explaining how when, because all the human race is in the same position, before we believed in Christ, we really didn't have any clue about what absolute truth was. And that was when I had my epiphany. I thought, oh boy. Because if you look at some of my other atheist videos, I got mad at people for not getting it about no set contains itself. Because to me, that's the quintessential explanation of why God exists. God would be the largest set, logically. And I was pissed off at people because how could you not know that? Yeah, well, see, my problem was that I've been living with this concept of absolute truth for so long, I've been taking it for granted. All right, so when I heard the pastor talking about how, hello, you can't even know absolute truth, on your own. It's not possible. I thought, oh man, I've been mad at these people all this time and I was really wrong. And I finally, Thursday, got an appreciation for how hard it is on you guys, to come to grips with all this stuff. I mean, I for the first time I was able to look through your eyes and see, oh wow, all you really know, if I don't have a sense of absolute truth, then all I really do know is what I can see, touch, taste, and feel. It's like, I don't know how you want to put it. Okay, here's the thing. It's like somebody is in a foreign country and they come to the United States. You just walk in the grocery aisle and it's like, ugh, there's too many things to buy. All right, if you come from a foreign culture to a very different culture, it's really hard to adjust. All right, so I suddenly understand that we Christians are like foreigners. We talk a language and we think a way that just doesn't make sense to you. And by the same token, for at least this Christian anyway, if we're too long in being, understanding Christianity, we lose the ability to understand what it's like not to be. Okay? And that was what I was doing in the video yesterday. I suddenly thought, oh, I want to get this out there. I want to say I'm sorry. Too many people to apologize to. And I wanted to express how my problem was that I live with this concept of absolute truth. And that's why I didn't understand your mindset. I wasn't trying, it's not a put down. I suddenly understand why it's so hard to be able to deal with people like us who say, well, there's God, how come you don't see him, blah, blah, blah. Because it's old hat to us. But it's not old hat to you. It looks like flying spaghetti monster, and I understand why now. Okay? So when I was doing the rest of the video last night, I was thinking, okay, well, what can I come up with as an answer that maybe some of the people who are interested in finding God can bridge this gap? I mean, because that's what happened to all of us. Those of us who believe in Christ now, we weren't always like that. So what steps did we go through that changed? But the process is always the same, and that's what I was trying to suggest. If you really want to know if God exists, it sounds silly, I know, but just look at the ceiling and say, look, this is driving me nuts. God, if you're there, prove it. Because I can't figure it out. And you can't. And it's okay that you can't. I couldn't either, but I don't remember, from way back at 13, what it was like to not be able to figure it out. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I didn't say it to be condescending. I'm trying to offer a solution. Because the solution is for all of us who believe in God, we went through a certain process. That process was we came to a point, and you'll hear the same story, especially in the Muslim conversion videos. Muslims for Jesus has a lot of those. Go look at those. They all tell about the same story. They got to this like crisis. I have to know if God exists. And you can't. You can't use empiricism. You can't use rationalism. You can't use science. It's never going to be conclusive. And besides, you really need a personal testimony if there's a real God. And so what do? Well, each one of those videos in the Muslims and every Christian I know, we like either lay on our back on the bed like I did and say, God, which one are you? I need proof. Direct. So I know I'm not hallucinating. That was the point that Phil Hellenes brought up. How do you know you're not hallucinating? It's a valid question. How do you know? Well, that's why I'm trying to say, ask the question. Ask the question. Ask the question. In my case, I was 13 when I did that because I couldn't stand to live anymore. Now, that's a long story. I'd been kidnapped and tortured and a whole bunch of other stuff before I was 13. So I had to know who God was for sure at 13. Now, obviously, that didn't make me better than you. I just needed it at that point. Okay, so someday, if you're not ready now, fine, no big deal. But there's going to come a day when it'll be a burning question. And at that point, it's like a phone call. God, are you there? It's really that simple. And, I remember, a couple of the comments, people were saying, well, I've been asking that question since I was 10. Yeah? And maybe the answer is so good and so big, the pieces aren't fully put together yet. And maybe tomorrow or the next day, you'll find out. Okay? Now, the end of that video on the apology was very much unintended. I was trying to, illustrate the point of it's really as simple as a phone call, even though you feel stupid doing it. Hi, God, are you really there, or am I talking to myself? But it turned into a prayer at the last minute, and I didn't know until it was over. Okay? And I had to be sort of facetious at the end because I was so shocked that I actually prayed on camera. I've never done that before. And we'll see what happens. I've never had a prayer go unanswered. So I don't know if this helps. I empathize with where you're coming from. Okay, I really do. And there's really no good answer except to say, God, are you really there? Because this whole thing is a mess. And you know what a mess it is. We've been arguing the same thing for how many years now? So, cut through the crap. Go to the top. And if you don't get an answer, well, then nobody was there. Okay? Now, if I still screwed up, yell at me in the comments. Bye.